that the roof on top of me, the corridor, collapsed on me. Yeah, I had sustained 45% burn injuries. Okay, what would my kids do without a mother? Because it was suffocating, I was inhaling smoke, I was not able to breathe, I was not able to move. But then the question was, why did she go when other men are standing around?
Common man think that fire means only fire departments. Only when you were telling that mandap collapsed and all, then I was thinking, yeah, there is also a rescue side. So other than fire, what all you people do? What all the fire service department is called for?
Obviously for firefighting, any type of fire, whatever the size of the fire, and rescue of anything, rescue of humans, rescue of animals, birds, anything, even honeybee. Even nowadays it has been acted, even the honeybee, rescuing the snakes from the mankind. It involves everything. I think part of it, like, what the forest department does also has been pushed to us. In the sense, like earlier, how the public always used to think any mishap, it is like, you dial 100. So it's like any fire, any rescue, they immediately dial 101. It so happened, like, okay, we are getting many calls on this, that we started training our own firemen in that. Earlier, snake rescue or the beehive, everything, that was not a part of our job at all. But then with the many calls coming in, we thought, okay, we'll train our men also into it. So even that has also become a part of our work. We rescue the cows and goats which fall into the well, and I think, and any kind of rescue, you name it, I think the fire department goes. There's nothing like, we don't do it. Even a person who has fallen into a sewage, into a poisonous sewage or a septic tank or anything, it is again the fire department which is being called.
And now this forest fire and all this Kurangini Hills or something,
Yes.
there also the fire department only does that job, or the forest department is?
It is in coordination with the forest department, but the equipments are much available with the fire department. So the fire department takes the lead, but then usually it is like, we can say, like, it is in coordination, because the passage to the forest, the passage to the fire call in a forest is all like, we have to obviously work along with them. So it goes hand in hand.
On that fateful day, I remember, I think Pongal Day 2012, where you were severely injured. So can you tell us about what time the call came, how the events progressed?
Okay, I think, okay. So this was, yes, on the Pongal day, and I was a district officer of Central Chennai, and I had received a call at around 1 o'clock that there was a fire at Elilaga.
1 a.m., midnight 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Midnight, yeah. And I had, as a jurisdiction officer, I was the first officer to rush to the spot. And when I reached the spot, yes, the fire was totally in blaze. And we had to safeguard the building and from the fire spreading more and more, because since it was it's an old heritage building with that Madras roofing, and lots of combustible materials was involved in the fire, like paper, furniture. So the fire was spreading really quick. So I have to make arrangements that many fire tenders attend to the spot. Then I have to give instructions for the strategic planning of all the vehicles, and then do the firefighting. So it was at that time of firefighting where I had gone inside to check on the seat of fire, what we call the seat of fire, that the roof on top of me, the corridor, collapsed on me. And I was totally buried in the debris for, I don't know, for a few minutes. And the the entry and the exit point to the building was sealed because the debris, I mean, there was a collapse of the ceiling, and so I had to rescue myself. So I rescued myself, and I had to find out a way to come out of that building, and then I came out, and then I think the rest is history.
And you were half burnt, I think. I think
Yeah,
some third level fire injuries.
I had sustained 45% burn injuries. Yes. Yes.
And whether you were conscious at that time?
Of course, I was conscious because I told you I had to rescue myself. I could not get any external support because our men were also like, they weren't able to get inside the building. So I have to come out of the debris, and then I have to walk out of that. I have to literally climb up the burning debris, and then I have to there was a small outlet, like a window which was half covered, so I had to kind of crawl into that gap, and then I had to walk out. Yes.
At that time, when you were coming out of that building, who came into your mind? Whether your children's faces came at your mind? What exactly happened at that moment?
Of course, yes. I think the spirit, like that was a very. I think it's easier. I don't know how to describe the situation exactly, because it is not as easy as I'm sounding. Because the entire ceiling which had collapsed was totally on me. I was not able to move an inch. I was under the debris. I was actually trying move to find out, like some ways to remove the debris.
And it was burning also. Yes.
The building, yes, of course.
Hmm.
The surroundings was burning, but what collapsed on me was, like the hot bricks. The bricks wasn't burning, but obviously the burnt remains, which kind of like collapsed
On you, yes.
So I was struggling a bit to remove my debris, and all my hands and legs and everything was covered. I was like, how a child is inside the womb of a mother. I was almost in that posture inside the debris. I wasn't able to move any part of mine except for my head. I could move only my head. So all energy and strength I had to put it on my head to move the debris. So I had tried twice or thrice. I wasn't able to. There was no progress at all. It was then, I don't know, maybe the willpower in me, just to, like I was just missing my children at that moment. Because they were like very small kids. I was thinking, like okay, what would my kids do without a mother? That was the instinct, maybe, that you can call it as a motherly instinct or whatever. Yes, that gave me the immense strength. I don't know, from that minute, when I was about to, like give up, because it was suffocating. I was inhaling smoke. I was not able to breathe. I was not able to move. And the protective whatever I was wearing, my helmet had gone, my gumboots had been stuck, my legs are stuck. So I think that thing of, like the instinct of, like kids missing me, missing the mother at that age, I think that gave me the strength. And I think a miracle happened. Then I was able to come out.
Once you came out, then you were there in ICU for almost 3 months.
Yeah.
At that point of time, did you regret? You give me a honest answer. Did you regret why I went inside? Why? Because you can also be one more civil servant.
No, actually speaking, and this is not a lie or an exaggeration, there was no regrets. There is no regrets at why I went inside. Because, like,
Good.
when generally, immediately a woman being affected, and they immediately, the question which comes is, like, why did she go? It was not why an officer goes. If it was an officer goes, yes, maybe there's some justice. But then the question was, why did she go when other men are standing around? That actually I didn't like it. There is nothing there was no gender aspect in it. I am an officer. I am a firefighter. So I went the call of my duty. So there was nothing, I regretted doing it. and it was part of my duty to do it. So I didn't have regrets that way. But yes, I had one regret, and which I always say that is a lesson to my firemen or to my colleagues or officers. I say yes, I should have worn my personal protective suit. I didn't wear my suit. If I had worn my suit, I would have, I mean, I would have protected myself. Maybe I wouldn't have sustained so much of injuries. So that is one lesson. But then again, I have to say that it was my accident was a lesson to everybody, in that sense. Everyone is awakened to the fact that not every firefighter had a personal protective equipment. They were they were awakened by my injury. So it was then they decided that yes, every firefighter have to have a personal protective equipment, and I make it um, kind of a norm that every firefighter wears it and ventures into a fire. So that is a lesson, and that is the only regret I have.
Okay. Now, after all this, I saw in television you receiving award from the chief minister, then chief minister and all. How was the feel?
Yeah, I'm actually a great fan of Madam, and it was during her period. It so happened that we were recruited, or it was a decision that she recruits the fire women officers. And I always admire Madam, and it was a dream come true when I had the opportunity to meet her. Yes, she had
I
come.
think she first
Yes,
came to hospital to ICU, I think.
yeah, yeah. She was. Yes, she came on the third day, and she spoke so. I mean, she spoke so much about women and courage, and how she really felt it's a duty to come and meet me. And she she gave she spoke so inspiring that, and she said, like, I see to it that you come out as beautiful and as strong as ever. So her words, yes, it really
Yes, in fact, I think your face was also burnt.
yeah.
Half of your face was
Yes,
burnt. Yeah.
and she took up the treatment cost also. She said the entire treatment cost will be on the government, and immediately, like, to acknowledge the bravery in us, she immediately she gave us the Anna Medal for bravery, which was till that time it was only for the public. It was the first time that even any person, even in the sphere of the government, would be recognized for their act of bravery. She enhanced the amount of cash also, like, I think from 25,000 she enhanced it to 1 lakh. And after that, yes, they had recommended my name for the President Medal for Gallantry. Yes, and Madam had been very supportive throughout my recovery in this. And yes, even after joining my duty, yes, she was very